All right, guys, so now I'm working on the compound interest tables. And so this is I'm going to go over example 1, which is on page 228. Example 1, page 228. And so we can use the interest tables. And so what the tables are, if you'll flip back with me to page A11, you guys do the same, please. All right. What the tables do, we're going to flip back to page A11. It's the orange section in the back of the book. And this table says compound interest amount of $1. Amount of $1. We'll explain what that means. We have different rates per period, and we have different numbers of periods. So on the left there, we have the number of periods up to 50, and then we have the rates per period. That means we're going to be able to use this table as long as our numbers match. So we could use 1% or 1.25%, but we couldn't use this table to solve for 1.1%. We'd have to use our formula, which is the A is equal to P 1 plus R to the nth power. So what this table is putting in this formula for a bunch of different values so you don't have to look it up every time. Okay? And what it's really doing is it's solving for if it were $1, if your P was $1. So you look that up and then you're going to multiply it by whatever your P really is. Okay? So that's kind of how that works. They're solving this equation for P is equal to $1. Well, that's going to give them an answer. And then what you're going to do is multiply that answer for a bunch, whatever P you really have, whether it's $10,000 or $100,000 or whatever. So let's take a look and see how this works. I'm on example 1, and example 1 says State Bank pays 6% interest compounded quarterly. Okay, so 6% compounded quarterly. So on regular savings accounts, Marta Carmona deposited $3,000, so that's her P. She deposited $3,000 for 2 years. For 2 years. She made no other deposits or withdrawals. So that's good. It's not like the problem we just did where we've got to keep track of what's being added or subtracted. How much interest did Marta earn during the 2 years? And then it says, note, use the compound interest amount of $1 table on page 11 to solve this problem. Then it's going to walk through the steps for us. So if you flip back to that table on page A11, flip back with me. If you flip back to that table, the first thing that's on that table is the period or N on the left. And so in order to use this table, we're going to have to figure out what N is. And so their first step is to determine the total number of interest periods. So N is equal to the number of interest periods. And in this example, the number of interest periods is going to be the periods per year times the number of years. So if it's compounded quarterly, how many interest periods are there per year? What do you think, Corey?
It's compounded quarterly?
Yeah, it's compounded quarterly, so how many interest are there per periods are there per year?
4.
There are 4, and then how many years do we have?
2.
2, so our N is 8. Does that make sense? So if we flip back to this table, it's not going to tell us this is the compound interest table if you're compounding quarterly or monthly or yearly or whatever. It's not doing it that way. You could use it for any amount, any kind of compound period you want, as long as you figure out what the N is. Okay? So then the next thing it's going to ask us is what is the rate per period? So if you look at the top of page, the appendix A11, it's got rate per period at the top. Well, we need to figure out that next. So then it says, step 2, find the interest rate per period. The interest rate per period.
Wouldn't it be on the next page?
No. What do you mean, like in the back?
Yeah.
No, this is a different thing. Future value of an annuity, that's a whole different thing.
Okay.
So let's go back to A11, okay? we need to figure out the rate per period, and we can do that. Let's look at step 2 on page 228. It says find the interest rate per period. Yeah.
Okay. I got my homework done. Just
Good to hear. Find the interest rate per period. That is so we're going to find the rate per period. Okay, because on that table, on that table, if you look over here, the top, over here we have N and a bunch of different periods, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to, I think it goes to 50. And then we have, it says rate per period on that table. And so it's got 1%, I think it was 1.25 and so on. So we need to find the rate per period, and that's going to equal our annual interest rate divided by the number of periods per year. So our annual interest rate was what?
6%.
6%. So we're going to leave it in a percent because the column headings are in percent. Okay? So the annual interest rate is 6%, and how many periods are there per year?
4.
There are 4 per year, right? There's 8 total, but 4 per year. So this is going to give us 6 over 4, which is 1.5%. Okay? What this means is that every quarter we're going to earn 1.5% interest. Because if you did it for a year, you'd have 4 of those, and that would be 6%. Okay? All right, so the next step, this was step 1, find N. Step 2 was to find the rate per period. Our third step is going to be to find what they're calling is the amount of $1 for 8 periods. So we need to find it's called the amount of $1. And that is what's in this table. Everything inside the table is the amount of $1. Again, it corresponds to solving that equation, A is equal to P times 1 plus R to the nth power for a P of $1. Okay? So we're going to look that up in the table. And when I look in the table, I need to find the 1.5% column and the period column for a period of 8. And what number did you guys get? What number do you see?
1, 2, 6, 4, 9.
All right, so they found over here, and it's 1.5 all the way down to 8. She found, say it for me one more time.
1.12649.
She found this number right here, 1.12649 in the 1.5% column and in the row for n equals 8. All right, so that's where that number is. It's 1.12649. All right, so we're done with that table. Let's take a look then at the next step. It says find the amount. Okay, find the amount. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to erase this so we can see what's next. Because we're really solving for the amount, we're going to take this number here, that 1.12649, and we're going to multiply it by the original P. Okay? So times P to get our amount. So that's going to be 1.12649 times 3,000, right? And
That's 3,379.47.
3,000 what?
3,379.47. But
379.47?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So that table there gave us this answer. And that is the one that they got. And then their last step, because they were actually asking for the interest, is you take the 3,379.47 and you subtract the 3,000 from it. This is your A minus your P, and that's going to give you your I. Right? So that number for I is 379.47.
Oh. I,
What happened?
it's fine, I just made a really dumb mistake.
Okay. All right. So this is the compound interest using the table. Okay. If we had done the A is equal to PR plus 1 to the nth method, we would have gotten the same answer here. Oh, here. Okay? Remember, that formula gives us A, so it would have given us this amount. Okay? So this is a shortcut using this table to typing in all of this. All right? So that's how that works. If you tried the concept check 1 and 2 and you got it wrong, maybe now go back to it and give it a try. Okay?